All right, we're live. Florida State picks up a big win. Game's not even over yet. We're picking up a big win. Do me a favor and hit the share button. We're starting a little bit early tonight. FSU beats Syracuse. Game's still going, but we're going to talk about it as it winds down. Florida State gets a big win to get to 7-3. Up 38-3 right now in the fourth quarter. Want to get you guys' thoughts. Want to hear what you guys have to say about the win, about the Noles getting their first winning season since 2017. It's been a minute, but they do finally have it. A winning season. Do me a favor, hit the share button. We'll get started here in just a minute as the Noles get to 7-3. The over-under in Vegas this year was 6.5. So congratulations to anybody that had the over. You made money tonight. Congratulations to anybody that had the Noles going over 6.5, because that's where they're at. Over 6.5. There's 7 wins. They get to 8 next week against Louisiana. And then you got a chance to get to 9 against your rival at the end of the year, which is interesting. They've outscored their last 2 opponents 83-6, giving up 2 field goals in back-to-back games. You'd really like to keep those field goals off the board, right? You don't like shutouts. That's a little bit of a joke. I'm being a little bit facetious there. But the Noles, 7-3, at a point where you'd say they're a good team. Are they a really good team? They're playing like one of the best 20 teams in the country right now, I'd say. Do me a favor, hit that share button in the bottom right-hand corner. If you're on YouTube, hit the share button, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you comment your thoughts there. We'll get going, and we'll talk about what's going on. Mike really went for it, up 35 on 4th and 21. I like it. Beat teams down. Do style points matter at this point? I don't know if they matter or not, but I do like beating the crap out of teams. I know that. Been a long time since we got to talk about should we be going for it on 4th down right now or not in a winning situation. Florida State throws a bomb on 4th and 21 while up 38-3. Carter Carrolls from the Tallahassee Democrat says, honestly, hilarious. Guys, do me a favor. Hit that share button if you're here on Twitter. If you're on the spaces, hit the share button. If you're on YouTube, hey, pour something. I got a Midwinter Nights dram. I don't know if you guys are whiskey folks or not, but we're going to pour something to celebrate the win. Put that right there on. Yeah, this is an expensive pour. So, first winning season since 2017. Something to celebrate. 7 wins tonight. You're going to get to 8 next week against a bad Louisiana team. And then you have everything you want right there in front of your rival to end the season. Couldn't have asked for the season to go. Honestly, if I'd have told you to start the year, if I'd have told you that Florida State was going to have a chance, that the Florida game would decide whether they went 8 or 9 wins, I think you'd have been pretty thrilled about that. I don't think anybody would have complained about that. Maybe you would have. Maybe you were expecting 10 when Vegas had 6.5. But I think that you'd have been pretty thrilled with what you've seen tonight. Florida State had a chance tonight. I'll say this, and then we'll get people on here to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. But there was a chance tonight that Florida State came out and laid an egg. There was a chance that Florida State came out tonight and after a big win over a rival, just completely let down and completely blew it against a team that they were better than and should beat. But that didn't happen. Florida State came out, and from the jump, they were superior. They were the better team. They were the team that dominated. and they came out with a huge victory, 38-3 right now. There's about 3 minutes to go. We'll see if Syracuse can make something out of the last 3 minutes to make it a little bit more respectable. But either way, the Florida State Seminoles score 38, Syracuse 3. In dominating fashion, the Noles pick up another big win. John, I'm going to bring you on. I think John won our Garnet and Gold hat the other night. So shout out John. John, what did you think about the game tonight?
I thought that they did exactly what good teams do. Good teams do good teams win by a lot, man. I came out the other day and I said I think our defense is a lot better than what people think when all of them are healthy. Man, they look healthy and they look good. I do think that Schrader was hurt, but I think their running back was healthy, man. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Schrader was hurt. I think that Florida State has gotten the benefit of getting to play 3 straight teams with quarterbacks with a little bit of injuries or a little bit of issues, but they've taken care of business with that, right? Like Florida State also had to play a game with a quarterback injured for more than a half. Florida State also had to play a game, several games without their best couple of defensive linemen in. And so, yeah, no, I agree. I think Schrader was a little bit banged up, and Florida State took advantage of that. But, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that they were able to get pretty fortunate game after game after game, getting some banged up guys in there at the quarterback position.
No doubt. The big thing I do want to shout out, though, here is just Mike Norvell and the boosters and everybody else. They've been so patient throughout this whole thing. Being real, and even fans here, we've been patient with it, too. But, Mike Norvell is a good coach. Let's be real. He's a good coach. He's turning players into good players. The kicking situation earlier this season is kind of one to frown upon, but it's one that I'm going to draw back on. Fitz looks like a good kicker again. Good coaches get the most out of their players. He's getting the most out of his players. And, that's before we get into the other stuff. I think he's a good recruiter, and I think he's killing it as an evaluator.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's a good coach. I think he's fantastic schematically. I think he's great at motivating kids. I think he is phenomenal at getting kids up for games and teams up for games. I do think he has work to go when it comes to recruiting. I don't want to be super negative on here. I'm not, I want to keep this a pretty positive space. I do think he can get better recruiting. I think he can fill out this staff a little bit better to improve as well.
So here, I'll keep it positive with you, and I'm going to argue with you a little bit on it. Because I agree with you about everything with the recruiter. Being a good recruiter is more than just the stars, man. It's an evaluation process. His evaluations have been so spot on. Name a player he's really missed on that's been that bad. And I'll do it better because there's a couple, but he's hitting at the majority. You've got to admit it. You've got to.
No, he's hitting on evaluations. I don't disagree with that. What I do disagree with, and I'm fine arguing, and I'm fine kind of going back and forth on this point, is how much better would this team be right now with a Marvin Jones Jr. on it or with a Travis Hunter on it? You know what I'm saying? So, you can always get better, right? Where you missed, where you had deficiencies, where you had guys that just narrowly missed and went other places, you can improve. And so I'm
that's where you vibe, man. We're getting the most out of guys, good guys.
But
great guys.
But here's where I'm at is I am ready to turn that good into absolutely great. And I think for Florida State to take that next step, this year, I think we're going to win 9-10 games. But for Florida State to take that next step, I think they're going to have to recruit at that upper echelon level. I think they're going to have to be in that top 10 level to compete for national titles. I think we can compete for this 9-10 wins right now. I think we're going to have to be just a bit better to really compete for it all, if that makes sense.
I agree. But I think something with recruiting that we're seeing is just all these guys closed up early. So everybody keeps saying look to next year. And I do. I kind of tend to agree with it. And if y'all haven't looked at Croman Hook, that kid is a borderline 5-star. You got to look at his stat lines. He's a freak. And he's the quarterback leading that class. It's going to be a good class next year, provided like we don't lose everybody and then just fall apart and vomit all over ourselves or diarrhea down our pants next year on the field. But I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, look at this team; they look so good. It's such a change. It's so awesome. These guys are so good.
No, I agree. I think that they're in a great position next year to absolutely have a special year when it comes to recruiting. And you've got to continue to win. You've got to continue to have juice with those guys in that 2024 class. But I agree. I think next year is undoubtedly a top 10 class for Norvell and company coming in, and you just can't squander that. But I think they're in good shape. I think they're in good position to go get that. It's on them to do it, not me. I just record podcasts, but it's on them to finish it. But John, man, I appreciate your service. Veterans Day weekend. Appreciate you for coming in here and chatting with us, my man. Thank you. Go Noles. Big win tonight.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Absolutely, buddy. Is the game gone final yet? I'm sitting in here in my office while you guys get to finish up and watch the game. 38-3 up. Syracuse is a first and goal. It looks like at Florida State's 2. So they might make it a tad more respectable, but we all watched the game. We all know what was happening. Brian Kelly, not the Brian Kelly that is moving and shaking out there in Baton Rouge. I saw them got a big win today at Arkansas, but Florida State, Brian Kelly. Brian, how's it going, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you, bud?
Man, I'm good. 7-3. I had the Noles at 7-5 this year, so they've already hit their expectations here. Final score 38-3. Noles win. Jared Verse doing Snow Angels on the field. That's fun. Guys, do me a favor. Hit the share button if you're in here listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that share button as well. But Brian, how are you feeling, man? I'm feeling good after a win. 7-3. That's where I had the Noles at 7-5 this year. They're at least getting to 8, and they might get to 9 with a win over Florida. What do you think?
Man, I wasn't really that worried tonight. I heard you talking earlier about kind of, after beating Miami, coming into this game kind of being lackadaisical and not showing up. But I don't think that's Mike Norvell, and I don't think that's this team and the way he coaches. I think the last time we saw that was Jackson State or Jacksonville State, whoever, last year. I don't think we'll ever see that again under Norvell. I think that this is a team that comes to work every day and isn't going to let a team like a Syracuse, who really doesn't have the talent, to beat them. And I'm excited, man. I hope we retain the staff. I worry about Atkins leaving. Pay that man whatever he wants. I think at this particular time, we got to give credit to Fuller. And the defense is doing nothing but improving, bringing Robinson up, to the line of scrimmage, blitzing, not worrying about getting scored on so much now. I feel like they're actually, and playing zone in the back end of the defense. We just look different. And regardless of if Schrader was hurt or not, we were winning this football game. We were the better team. We were better coached. And I'm excited to play Florida. I want to see exactly if we can contain AR, and which I think we can, and I think we can beat them at home. But I think it's not a must win, but it's a win that if we can win that game, I think recruiting will definitely take a next step without, just in general. I'm excited. It's been a long time since we've been able to sit back and just watch a FSU game and think, I wonder what other games are going on, because it's kind of, it's been a while. But the offensive line looks amazing. It's crazy. Big difference.
How about this, Brian? How long has it been since back-to-back weeks this late in the season that you've been bored with FSU football in the second half? Right? Like, not bored in like a negative way, but bored in the way of like
a positive way.
Yeah, like it's like, well, the game's over at halftime. Not who cares, but you're kind of flipping around and you're kind of seeing what's on this channel or what's on that channel, and what's done is done, right? And so that's different.
2014, but we struggled. We won.
No,
the
it's
game,
been, yeah. It was 2013.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
So that's different.
Even after 14, I think 15, 16, we're still we still were watching to the end, and you were still standing up in front of your TV. You weren't sitting down. So it's been a while since. Yeah, it's been 2013. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, the game has been
9 years.
The game has been a little bit, and I don't, in a positive way again, but a little bit boring in the second half, which is great.
And not just beating like Duke or somebody even worse than that. We're actually beating legitimate football teams like Miami, Syracuse. They have athletes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Which is crazy to think about. So.
How about this? Jimbo Fisher is 3-7 after the Aggies drop this week. They will not go bowling as they go 3-7 tonight. And the Noles are 7-3. So it took a little bit of time, but that's an interesting one, isn't it? That the Noles are 7-3 and Jimbo is 3-7. What's interesting really about that is that so Jimbo and them will pick up a win next week, I think, against a pretty bad opponent, but then they'll lose to LSU, I think, to end the year. So they're going 4-8. And the Noles floor at this point is 8-4. And if they can beat Florida, obviously they'll go 9-3, and then you get a bowl game in there as well. So kind of fun to watch Jimbo and them struggle as we continue to climb, I guess is what the pun is, right?
He keeps losing me money. I keep thinking, there's no way Jimbo loses. There's no way Jimbo
loses. Quit betting on them, Brian. Come on, man.
I mean, I'm just like, he can coach. He's not, he's not terrible, but I keep thinking there's no way he keeps losing like in a row, and I won't bet on him again. That's for sure. It's crazy to think too. I actually think Norvell is probably a better, and I don't know Jimbo, but I think he's probably character-wise seems like a better coach in my opinion. But time will tell. But it's crazy to see it kind of flip-flopped.
Brian, are you drinking
program direction?
Are you drinking anything? You got anything in your cup tonight?
No, man, I didn't drink anything. Typically, I drink Jefferson, man, if I'm gonna do bourbon. But I didn't sip on anything, man. I just sat back, put the kids to bed. I got 4 of them, and just watch the game.
Better man than me.
Sipping on nothing.
Go pour you something, man. You deserve it.
All right, brother. I appreciate you having me, man. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Go Noles.
Go Noles. Want to give a quick shout out to Salomon Digital Marketing. I just shot him a text so I can throw him up here in the top of the space, but I appreciate TJ and I appreciate what he does for our athletes. He works currently with AJ Duffy, and if TJ jumps in here, I'll throw him up in the top of the space, but give TJ Salomon. His Twitter handle is TJ, no space, TJ SALOMONE, TJ Salomon. Give them a follow, or Salomon Digital Marketing, which their handle is Salomon, SALOMONEDM. Everything you do to support them and follow them and super follow TJ Salomon goes back to our athletes through NIL. Appreciate TJ and his support of FSU athletes. Let me go ahead and get Pete the Greek on here. Pete, the hurricane screwed us up, man. We were supposed to hang out this week. What's going on, brother?
I know, brother. I know.
When are you going back up this way?
I'll probably be there in the next 2 weeks, so I'll definitely hit you up.
Just
buddy.
hit me up, man.
I will hit you up, and hopefully we can break some bread. I'll tell you, it's so nice to have a boring second half.
I love the boring second half, man. I hope they were playing Hangman. Hope they were playing Hangman on the sideline. Remember that?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so TJ, what do you say, Goat, about our DBs, man? They actually looked a little better in that zone. I mean, he's got them playing pretty good. Our defense was hitting the ups, so I'm really loving that. Just looking good all the way around. I think we're still going to need to hit the portal, though, just to kind of balance it out. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I thought the defense played really, really well. I thought the secondary played well. I thought that, you look at Greedy got the pick. I thought Azarea played really, really well. I thought the DBs played really well. I think I'm not being negative here. Don't let me, but to put some context to it, I want to be a realist. I think that Schrader was really, really limited. And so when you knew that he couldn't run the ball, you were able to play him in a way that would play to your strengths as an FSU defense. Let's kind of put it that way, right? I don't think, I'm not trying to take anything away from the defense, but with Schrader being limited, I think that helped play into the FSU defensive game plan. And I think Florida State knew that he would be fairly limited. I think they knew that he wouldn't be 100%. And so I think that helped. That said, you still got to go out and execute. And Florida State went out and executed and played really, really well. So I don't mean to say that to take anything away from Florida State's defense, but you're going to play a quarterback in 2 weeks who has better scrambling ability than Garrett Schrader. Is more dynamic than anything you'll see against a Syracuse type team. And so, Florida State's going to go out and get a big win next week to get to 8-3. And then really it all comes down to what they do in 2 weeks against Florida. And that's really the litmus test.
I will say this, though. I will say I did like the aggression that they took tonight. I mean, they really stacked that box.
Well, that defensive line, Pete, that defensive line was unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so good.
So Lovett, I mean, to me, it always seems like, and I always harp on this, I think Lovett, number one, he's a coach on the field. Number two, I think he just gives them a little bit of an edge because if you notice, go back and look, they're going to double him. They're going to try to get a couple bodies on Coop. They can't contain those two. It's just mass, You got mass right there. I think that makes a difference for sure. And I kind of like it showed up these last few games because the 3-game kind of loss stint we had, you had a little bit of pressure, more pressure on Coop as he was being doubled. So I don't know. I maybe it's just me, but I just noticed a little bit more than maybe I'm drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid too there.
My guy Kurt that works for the Osceola now mentioned that and said that this team is a different defense with Fabian Lovett there in the middle. And I tried to send waves and high fives to everybody in the top of the space. So if you got one, shout out to you. But I agree with that. I think that this team is different with Fabo in the middle. Now, I will say that Fabo coming back also coincided with a pretty remarkable talent difference happening from the perspective of dropping from Wake, NC State, and Clemson down to a Georgia Tech, Miami, and Syracuse, which I do think Miami and Syracuse have a lot of talent, but I don't think that they're the same level as those other 3 teams. So I do think that, the defense is definitely better with those guys in, but I don't think they're necessarily elite. I don't, so for example, I don't know that Fabo changes the result in any one of those games. Does he make that Wake game easier for FSU? Yes. Does he make that Clemson game easier for FSU? Yes. But I don't know that he necessarily changes the result of any of them. But I do think that Florida State's defense is way, way better and plays way more cohesive as a unit with him. So, both can be true at the same time, right?
That is true. That's a good statement there. And I will say the McAllen tastes a little bit nicer tonight.
My man.
And I am going to sign off with you, my friend, and hopefully see you in a couple weeks, buddy.
Man, let me know when you're here, brother. We'll do it.
You got it. Take care, man.
Thanks, Pete. Hey, shout out to Garnet and Gold. I see them trolling on the timeline. Retweet if your team hasn't given up a touchdown in 2 weeks. That's a lot of fun. So shout out Garnet and Gold. I don't know. They must think they're TJ or something on the timeline. So we'll share that up in the top of the space. If you're shopping at Garnet and Gold, of course, you can use code SPACES15 to save 15%. Shout out Garnet and Gold and their support of FSU athletics as well as this space. Buck and Noles. Jim, I feel like it's been a while, man. Have you been on here before? I don't know if you – where you been, man?
Yeah, man. I'm the one that called in that one day with you and Josh, and you ended up sending me Gramco, which was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I've sent a lot of people Graham Coast, so you have to narrow that down. But I hope you're doing well, man.
I was the one that was talking about how bad luck.
Jim, oh my God, yes, you were the best call of all time. Listen,
Oh, thank you.
if you guys
true.
missed,
I mean, it's just true. I was just speaking the truth.
listen, serious talk. Listen, I hate to do this, but how many people are in here? Let me look. I don't need that. Okay, 79. That's fine. If you guys missed Jim's call, Jim had the best spaces call of all time. If you guys missed it and you didn't hear it, shoot me a DM right now and just say like, hey, I missed Jim's call. And I'll send it to you. I'll send you what Jim's call was. I was in tears listening to Jim's call. Like it was that good. And looking back now that the team's 7-3, you won't cry as much. I was in tears for happiness and sadness. But if you missed Jim's call, shoot me a DM right now and I'll send it to you. But how you feeling now, man? I bet you're feeling better a little bit.
I'm feeling a whole lot better about this season and the way everything's going in Norvell and the whole situation. I mean, and my opinion, just a bold statement, I think if we have both Lovett and Verse healthy 100% for those 3 games, I think they win all 3. That's my opinion, but I can guarantee, I'm pretty sure we win at least 8 of them. I mean, we'd be 8 or 9 wins right now.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, man. I think it's tough. I think those were 3 really, really good teams. I think that
But they haven't lost a game with Lovett.
I'm telling you.
And they beat a good LSU team with him.
He's a difference maker, isn't he?
He's definitely a difference maker, and so is Verse. Both of them were hurt against both Wake Forest and NC State, I believe. That's when Verse got hurt at the beginning of the NC State game. And Lovett didn't play that game either. Lovett didn't play any of the 3 games we lost.
Jim, I got 8 DMs right now saying I missed Jim's call. Please send it to me. I just want you to know I'm going to have to go through all these. Listen, guys, I'll send it to you after the spaces. Like, let me get through the show. I'll send it to you tonight before I go to bed. But I just want you to know, Jim, I got 8 people asking. There's 9. There's 10. Yeah, shoot. I shouldn't have asked that. I should have just retweeted it and put it in the top of the space. But I'll send it to you guys all individually. Jim had the best call in spaces history. Yeah. But I do feel better, man.
Twitter and done a straight.
I'm telling you. But I do feel better. I feel much better right now. Hey, we're gonna go get win number 8 next week, and then in 2 weeks we'll see what we can do against
against
Florida.
The Gators are looking better, but I think we can take them too as long as we can keep Richardson in the pocket. I don't believe he can beat us from the pocket.
I 100% agree. We will probably not do 6 more DMs coming in. I got to send this out to 16 different. We might have a 20 people group DM here in a minute. But I agree with that. I don't think Richardson can beat us. I think their running game is really good. I'll say that. I think they've got a couple of really good running backs, and I think they've got a running back playing quarterback that is really good. And so, I think that
what's been impressive with them is their offensive line has been really good.
Their offensive line has been great.
Really good offensive, the interior.
And their defense
line is really good.
Now I'll say this: they've played against 2 pretty bad offenses, but I think their defense has been good the last 2 weeks. And we'll see how they look against us. I do think that our offense is better than anything they've seen since probably Georgia. So we'll see. But I think Florida State's a better team than Florida. I'll put that on record right now. Florida State is a better team than Florida right now.
Kentucky.
Absolutely.
We have a better offense than Kentucky.
Absolutely.
And we have a better offense. Who was the other team they lost to? It was I don't know about Tennessee. Tennessee's pretty damn good offensively. But probably close to Tennessee as far as the way we're able to run and both pass also. Maybe not as consistent as Tennessee is, but in that realm.
Yeah. I like us against Florida. If we don't piss down our leg, right, which that's a Coach 30 thing, right? Don't piss down your leg. I think we win that game. I think we're better than Florida is. And I don't.
All they got to do is move that big fat boy, number 21, out of the way and run straight up the middle on him.
That's a big kid, isn't he?
Yeah, man, 400.
Good Lord. Oh, man. Jim, I appreciate you, my brother.
All right, man. Good talking to you. Go Noles.
Go Noles, buddy. I'm telling you, you guys that DM me, I will send you Jim's call afterwards. Hey, guys, we're doing a tailgate for the Florida State game. If you're coming to that game, shoot me a message, and I'll get you tailgate tickets. I'll get you tailgate information to your DMs. But shoot me a message. Just say, hey, I'm coming to – if you're just really looking for Jim's call, shoot me a message saying you're looking for Jim's call. But if you're looking for a tailgate spot for the Florida State game, Black Friday, sold-out crowd, and you want to hang out for that, shoot me a message. If you're on YouTube, shoot me an email, tj@doublefriesnoslaw.com, and we'll get you in. We'll get you taken care of. Let's go through some of these comments here. I honestly am not planning on being here super, super late. So if you have anything you want to talk about, if you have anything you want to shoot me a message about, or if you'd like to request and speak, you're more than welcome to do that now. Couple of questions here about the Noles and the game. Here's a joke on Brian Kelly and his family. Love to hear that. Yeah, guess who's 7-3 and what team is 3-7? Yeah, Jimbo at 3-7 right now. That's pretty fun to watch and pretty fun to look at. Let's see what other questions we have, what other comments we have. Syracuse isn't nearly as bad as Miami. Yeah, so that's interesting. Syracuse is a good team, and it is interesting to see that Florida State absolutely dominated Syracuse. I do think that Schrader was somewhat banged up. I do think you were getting him in a good situation for the Noles, and you were getting him kind of hurt, kind of a little bit hobbled. That was a good thing for the Noles. But this is still a team that put 21 up on Clemson. This is still a team that put 24 up on Notre Dame. This defense held Pitt to 19 points. And you came out and did absolutely everything you wanted against Syracuse in this game tonight. Anything that Florida State wanted to do tonight, they did. If they would have wanted to put up 50 tonight, they would have. I think that Norvell was very content with getting guys out, with saving the roster, and staying healthy down the stretch. We went to the half 21-3. You scored immediately. I'm sorry, 24-3. You scored immediately to make it 31-3. You made it 38-3 on your next possession, and then from there, the game was over. You had 3 more drives. You didn't score again, but the Noles could have done absolutely anything they wanted tonight on the road at Syracuse, which is really, really impressive. I thought the way that the Noles came out and responded. How about this? How many times do you see a team win a massive game and just come out flat and just come out like they don't even have their heads on the right way? That just doesn't seem to be a problem with Norvell coach teams. Remember last year, the BC game, they got up on BC really early. They got up on BC and they were blowing them out early. And now BC did fight back in the second half. So hats off to them. I do think the refs were pretty bad in that game too. But I like the way that we come out and fight even after massive, massive rivalry wins. There doesn't seem to be a let-off or a letdown or a whoops. We overlooked that team. Now, Jackson State still happened, right? And you went 0-4 to start the year last year. But since then, you're 12-6. 12-6 since you started 0-4. That's really freaking good. Just for the record. In that 12-6 span, 5 of those teams were favorites. So you lost 5 times that you were supposed to lose. And you lost 1 time you weren't supposed to lose. And that was Wake Forest this year. But those 3 losses last year, you were supposed to lose those 3 games, and you did. You kept it close. You kept it respectable. You've only lost 1 time that you weren't supposed to lose. That's really good. I think that might be what some would consider turning a corner. I think Florida State might be back to winning the games you're supposed to win. Wouldn't that be a relief? Wouldn't just that itself be a relief? If I just told you from now on, Florida State's going to win the games they're supposed to win, would that take some relief out of your Saturdays? If you stop losing to the Syracuses and the NC States and the Wake Forests and the Boston Colleges, Florida is always going to be a battle. Miami's always going to be a battle. Clemson's always going to be a battle. When you play teams like LSU and Georgia and Alabama, that's going to be a battle, and we get that. But what if we just turn the corner to where we don't lose to those teams we're not supposed to lose to anymore? What if we just don't lose to Syracuse anymore? What if we just don't drop games to Wake Forest anymore? That's turning a corner. That's a different era of football that we haven't seen the last 5 years. Because going into games, I don't know if you guys remember, but Jimbo's last year in 2017, it took a Hail Mary to beat Duke. And so maybe we're at the point now where those games aren't a concern anymore. And you went on the road as a touchdown favorite, as a 7-point favorite tonight, and blew out a Syracuse team that didn't have a chance. There was not a snowball's chance in hell that they were beating you tonight. Maybe that's a new era of FSU football. Maybe that's a point that we can all kind of relish, and we can all kind of say, like, well, at least we're going to beat the teams we're supposed to beat. At least we're done toying with the crap teams of the ACC, and we're just going to go out and beat the dog crap out of teams we're supposed to beat. That's where Florida State is right now. You look at the toss-up games on the schedule. They beat an LSU team that was a toss-up game. They beat a Louisville team that was a toss-up game. They lost to a Wake Forest in an NC State and a Clemson game that was a toss-up game, right? So they're 2-3 in toss-up games. But as far as teams that they're better than, they've beat the absolute dog shit out of teams that they're supposed to dominate. BC beat down. Miami beat down. Georgia Tech beat down. Syracuse beat down. Louisiana next week, going to be a beat down. I think Florida's another toss-up game. And you'd like to get to 3-3 on your toss-up games, right? You beat Louisville, you beat LSU, you lost to Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson. So you're 2-3 right now on your toss-up games. You beat Florida to go to 3-3 in your toss-up games, and you're 3-3. And you finish with a 9-3 record. The bowl result really doesn't matter, but it'd be really nice to sell 10 wins to recruits. It'd be really nice to sell, we went from 5 to 10 to recruits. But I do think, and if I'm wrong on this, you guys can record it, you can screenshot it, you can send it out later. But I do think we've turned the corner to where when a bad team goes up against the Noles, we beat the dog shit out of them. That's just what happens from now on. We're done with this middle tier bullcrap where we play down to BC and we play down to Syracuse and we play down to Boise State and we play down to Georgia Tech. We're done with that. When we play a bad team, Mike Norvell puts his foot on their throat and beats the crap out of them. Because that's what happened. That's what's happened every time this year. We haven't played a bad team this year that we didn't blow out. I think he senses the moment. I think he understands where this team is at. I think he understands where this fan base is at. And when we play a bad team, we're beating the crap out of them every time. Get ready for another blowout next week. 1 week from tonight, we're going to be talking about another blowout against Louisiana because that's what Mike Norvell does. We're blowing out the bad teams. You're going to go 50-50 in your rivalry games, in your toss-up games. That's just how football works. Unless you're a truly elite team, you're going to go about 500 in your toss-up ones. But we're beating the crap out of teams that aren't as good as us. And that is a corner that's been turned because that wasn't the case 2 years ago. That wasn't the case 3 years ago. Heck, in 2017, like I said, you barely got by Duke and you barely got by Wake Forest when Jimbo was here. I think a corner has been turned with this program. I got 4 more DMs asking me for Jim's take. Shout out Charlie Ward. Shout out the GOAT in here hanging out on the spaces tonight. My man. Also want to shout out Gramco, thegramco.com. How much did Florida State win by? Here's what I'll do tonight. Florida State won 38-3. The next person to order from thegramco.com, use code TJ25. I will personally buy you. This is not coming from Gramco. I'll do it. I will personally buy you. I'll get you a $35 Gramco gift card. You need to order from thegramco.com. Use code TJ25. Shoot me a message once you put your order in, and I will hook you up personally with a $35 Gramco gift card as the Noles win by 35, a score of 38-3 against the Syracuse Orange. Question here in the DMs. Can you talk about Tate Rodemaker and him not looking excited at all? Not looking exciting at all. Yeah, I mean, I think Tate came in as a backup and in a game that was already over. I don't know. I didn't read Tate's body language too much. I don't have a ton on that. I don't know. Don't know if he I don't know what Tate looked like in this game, man. I was too busy watching the scoreboard when we were winning by 30 something. So, yeah, Tate was probably bored like I was in the second half, which is a good thing to have happen when you're beating a team by 5 touchdowns. Another question here, Sam McCall. Yeah, no, so, okay, here's a good question. Yeah, so Sam McCall, after some questions, after some concerns around him transferring, him putting his name in the portal, I think it was good that he got in there and was able to make some plays. Did he have 2 forced fumbles tonight? Is that correct on the stat line? I think it's good for Sam McCall to get in there. I think that he did have a little bit of a heart-to-heart with FSU staff that kind of said like, "Hey man, like here's the situation," kind of laid it out for him, and I thought that they did a good job with that. Yeah, without going super, super deep into that, I think that he's in a good spot right now to continue on with the Seminoles, and that's a really good spot for him. Let's not get super deep into that. But yeah, I think it's really good that he got in and got playing time. I think that was a concern of his. I think that he was upset with the playing time that he was getting, and it is good that he got in. Yeah, Texas A&M being 3-7, certainly something that that is fun to cheer for if you're an FSU fan. All right, Shane, here's a good comment. We have to get better in these toss-up games, and we have to look into the void games against the big bad boys. Otherwise, we're done playing down to inferior opponents because it's been okay. So you're right, Shane. I agree with you. We have to get better, and we want to be better than just 500 against these toss-up games, right? But here's the thing. I think as Florida State is getting back, as Florida State is continuing to improve or climb or whatever terminology or phrase you want to put around it, there's a progression. And that progression goes from competing against those teams you should blow out to beating those teams to then blowing those teams out to then where you're at a point where those 50-50 games are no longer 50-50 games, right? Next year against NC State and Wake Forest, those should not be 50-50 games anymore. Those should be games that Florida State goes in and wins. And so I agree with you. Yeah, Florida State has to be better. Florida State's, to me, your toss-up games are always going to be about 500, right? You're always going to go about 50-50 in games that are truly toss-ups. If things break your way, you might get a little lucky and you might go a little better than 500. But I think that essentially the way that college football works is when you have toss-up games, you're almost always going to go about 500. What I think Florida State needs to do is stop having so many toss-up games. Have less toss-up games. Get your talent on your roster to a point where Wake Forest is no longer a toss-up game, where NC State is no longer a toss-up game. You go into next year's season and you play LSU, Florida, and Clemson, and those are your 3 toss-up games, and you win everything else. You go 9-3, or you win the other 9 games, right? You win the other 9 games because those are the only 3 toss-ups. And you got LSU and Florida and Clemson. You win 2 of those 3, you're looking at 11-1. You win 1 of those 3, you're looking at 10-2. That's where Florida State needs to get. It's not winning more toss-ups. It's eliminating the number of toss-ups you have. You play 12 games. If you have 5 toss-ups, you're going to go 3-2 or 2-3. That's just how toss-ups work. So it's not about winning the toss. It's eliminating the number of toss-ups you have. Next year, you have 3 toss-ups. You have 3 50-50 games. LSU, Florida, and Clemson. Outside of that, you should win your other 9 games. If you lose any of those, it's a problem. So it's not necessarily to me about winning your toss. It's about eliminating the number of toss-ups you have. It's about getting to a point on your roster where in 1995, Florida State didn't look at anybody in the ACC and say, oh man, this might be a toss-up. Oh man, Wake Forest might. No, there wasn't none of that. Everybody in the ACC we played, we were beaten. And that should be the standard today. I understand where Clemson's at. So if Clemson's your one exception to that, I'm okay with that. But outside of Clemson, there are no toss-ups in this conference. You beat everybody in this conference, minus Clemson. I get it. But Clemson's a toss-up at this point. You've played them the last 2 years to a 1-score game. I want to give a quick shout out to Salomon Digital Marketing. They're up in the top of the space. If you can, give my guy TJ Salomon a quick follow. Anything you do to super follow him, if you do, goes back to our FSU NIL efforts. Salomon Digital Marketing. If you have a business and you are potentially looking for any kind of marketing services, shoot me a DM and I will personally coordinate a conversation between you and their CEO to see if their marketing services could help you. Again, it's Salomon Digital Marketing. I put TJ up as a speaker in the top of the space. If you would like any more information, you can give him a follow or you can contact me in my DMs and I'd be happy to help. What else you guys got? You guys got anything else? Otherwise, I think it's time to close this party down, celebrate this win. Hopefully you guys are, listen, I don't know. I wish one person in here would tell me like, hey man, I'm a massive bourbon fan. I know my guy Hayes is, so Hayes doesn't count. But I poured a really good pour tonight. So this bottle, it's called Midwinter Night Dram. It's the Act 9, so it's last year's. I want to say it goes for like $80, but on secondary it's like $250. So I mean, it's a pretty good little bottle that I poured. I hope somebody else is drinking something good tonight. I hope it's not just me. 4 Rose single barrel, that counts. We'll take that. You're allowed to drink that one. But I hope other people are drinking something good. Somebody asked me about Armella taking the trip or why he didn't take the trip. I didn't realize he wasn't there. I can certainly do a little bit of digging there. I don't know that Armella would have played tonight outside of a few massive injuries, but I can do a little digging there. I don't think there's any issues with Armella or anything like that, but again, I didn't realize he didn't make the trip, but I appreciate you asking just so I can dig a little bit there. Shout out my guy Sweep. My guy Sweep is, he hasn't even had to pull out the reverse jinx this year for the Noles. He saved that all for the Heat. Sweep, we might need you for the Gator game later in the year, but Sweep, hopefully you're drinking something good. I saw you on the boat today. Shout out my guy Sweep. Appreciate you, my man. That sip brought to you by Sweep. Lagavulin, yeah. So you Scotch people, yeah, you're way over my head. You're way more savvy. Yeah, we don't want Georgia. The people in the comments saying we want Georgia, that is not a real thing. We don't want Georgia at this point. Hey, I wouldn't mind. Okay, I'll say this and I'll get out of here. Again, I gave a shout out to Salamo Digital Marketing. I gave a shout out to Garnet and Gold, Spaces 15, save 15%, and then Gramco, thegramco.com, TJ25. I wouldn't hate playing Bama in a bowl game. Does that sound crazy, y'all? Is that crazy? Maybe I'm crazy on that. Bring Bama on. I think we beat Bama. I think we got a better quarterback than Bama. I know they love Bryce Young, but Jordan Travis is a freaking great quarterback. Charlie, I see you in here. Let's see if I can get Charlie on. Let me see. I think Jordan Travis is really good, guys. Like phenomenally good. I'd love to hear what Charlie has to say about Jordan Travis. Charlie, I don't know if you have like 30 seconds to speak or not. I'm going to send you an invite. If you have time, great. If not, no worries, man. I don't mean to bug you on your night off, but man, the way that Jordan Travis commands the offense and the way that I don't know. All right, Charlie, you're in here. I got Charlie Ward on here, which is kind of crazy, but how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, TJ. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to get another win. It's always good when you secure a winning season. Can you talk to me a little bit about Jordan Travis? What do you see out of his game?
When you've been in offense for a few years, you start to understand all the nuances of the offense. And I think that's what you're starting to see now with Jordan, with him making the decisions that he's making and, him having a hand in what may go in the game plan. All that comes with having stability and being in a system. I think that goes unnoticed and unappreciated sometimes when a player or a team is struggling. And it's the same with the defense. Early in the year, they had some ups and downs on some certain games and certain times. But what you're starting to see now is guys finding their roles and finding or understanding where they're supposed to be. And so it's just great to be able to see us playing this way consistently.
Are there ever times that Jordan takes off running and you kind of think back and say like, holy crap, that looks like me? Like, do you ever kind of look at it and say like, man, that's a play that I would have made? Or, it reminds me of when I did this or did that.
There's some times like that, but I just I just like the way he's been playing, and he's been accurate a lot more this year on the run, and he's made decisions to throw the football, which I think that's what he wanted. He would like to do. I know a lot of people label me as a runner. I wasn't a runner. I was a guy that used my legs to extend plays and get first downs when needed. And I see that in Jordan now more so than anything. He's finding ways to extend plays with his legs, but he's also keeping his eyes down the field, and guys are getting open.
Yeah, he's done a really good job of, in the last few years, he's been pretty run heavy, but he's done a good job this year of, like you just said, keeping his eyes open downfield. He just seems so calm and cool. Even when he makes a mistake or has a turnover, he bounces back so quick. And can you just speak to that a little bit? Like, what do you think it is that keeps him so, like, he doesn't seem to let one mistake turn into another. He just, if he makes a mistake or he has a turnover, he just gets right back out there and just kind of keeps it going. And, that's just how you have to be as a quarterback? Or I don't know if you've spoken with him at all or not, or know anything about Norvell's system, but I think that's what I've been most impressed with him about is he may make a mistake here or there because we're all human and we all screw up, but man, he just comes back like it doesn't even bother him, and he just kind of keeps going.
Well, most times that's where you have to be as a quarterback if you're going to excel and go to the next level, or any player that makes a mistake. You can't dwell on it, and you have to continue to move forward. But one of the things, I've seen in Jordan this year is his confidence has grown because he's put in a lot of time and effort and work, in the off season, film study. Not saying he didn't do that last year, but he's matured, and we all should mature from year to year. And so it's just good to see him playing at this level, making great decisions, within the offense. But, to be honest, it helps to have a great running game.
Yeah.
And the offensive line is doing a much better job than they did last year because they have some new guys, and the guys that came back have matured as well, and they've taken on that leadership. So when you have a great balance as far as having a great run game, it makes the pass game so much easier, or vice versa. And so this year we've kind of established the run as our bread and butter, and we use the run game to open up things for in the passing game. And so that's been a great blessing to be able to see that, over the course of this season, regardless of who we played. People can say, well, we're playing certain defenses and teams. We've been able to run the football the past 5 games. And so some of those defenses we run the ball against been, top tier. So it's not just, bad teams, but they're doing it consistently, and that's what you need if you're going to go to the next level for sure.
Charlie, I want to ask you this, and then I'll let you go, and maybe we'll wrap up on this. But man, we know we have Louisiana next week, and you don't want to overlook any opponent, but we're fans, and we don't have to play next week, so I don't care about overlooking an opponent. But you play Florida in 2 weeks, and I know you made a big play in that Florida game that gets replayed every year. Your pass to Warwick down the sideline in '93. Can you talk to me about like how you keep your emotions in check, even though that game itself is kind of larger than life, and really like what your advice would be to those kids that will play in that game in 2 weeks?
Well, they just got finished playing in one, which was, as we saw, was impressive, and that was on the road. And Florida will be very similar. You just have to control your emotions, because the team that does will get to the game faster, get in the game faster. Once you can get to a point where your emotions are in control because of the hype around the game and the rivalry. And so that plays a big part in, who's going to hit first and who's going to make the plays first is a team that can control their emotions. And you saw that when we were in Miami. That's what you want to. You want to control your emotions, go out and play the game the right way. The things that you practice, that's what you want to make sure you're executing instead of getting in any trash talking and all that other kind of stuff that happens. You go out and just, smack people in the mouth. And that's the way you trash talk. And I don't see that being any different in the Florida game, when you talk about a rivalry. The good thing about Florida State is we have 2 rivalry games. So that's always, a positive to be able to have those. And I know one of our goals when we were in school was we wanted to be state champions. And so we still have that option on the table for this year. And hopefully we can, pull it off.
Did you all right, so I lied to you. I'll ask you this one, and I'll let you go. Who did you like beating more between Miami and Florida?
It didn't matter. I mean, we wanted to win the game, so we just we wanted to beat everybody.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
Florida. Whoever we played, we wanted to win the game. And so, it's always good when you can win those in-state rivalry games because you have bragging rights. And so I know our 2 years, we lost to Miami. That was the only team. And so, I still eat that many every time I watch the game, how many opportunities we missed in the red zone or whatever it was, plays that we missed in that game in order not to even tie the game. But you want to beat both teams, when it's all said and done. Like I said, you want to be state champs. And that's one of the goals I know we always set outside of winning, the ACC and the national championship. But you want to win both games. That's always our goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie, tell the people what you got going on right now. We'll wrap up with this. Tell the people what you got going on right now, how they can support you, and kind of what you got going on in life right now. I know you're doing a lot of things, but I'll let you talk about it, and then we'll get out of here.
I'm a head boys basketball coach at Florida High down here in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And so we're getting ready to get our season started next week. And we have a award family foundation. We're actually in the process of getting ready to partner with God's Pit Crew, which is they help provide different things, a bucket of items for disaster relief. And so our family foundation is getting ready to raise funds for that through we do a FSU Cares basketball classic, which is next Thursday and Friday. And all the proceeds will go towards all the proceeds at the door will go towards, that effort of being able to help those that have lost items in the hurricanes here in our state. So that's kind of what we're doing. But looking forward to another great year and doing different things. But there is getting ready to put something out here shortly. So on my Instagram page, so be on alert. That's coming down the pipe next month. So just be on the alert.
Yeah.
Just a little teaser.
Absolutely. Well, man, I'll shoot you a message so we can get that all that information, and we can share it out on our platforms as well and try and help out as much as we can. But Charlie, I appreciate you for hanging out, my man.
My pleasure.
Thanks, buddy. Go Noles.
I enjoy this space.
Yes, sir. Thank you, buddy.
All right, you have a good one. Go Noles.
Go Noles, buddy. Appreciate Charlie Ward, FSU's first Heisman. Didn't know that was gonna pop up, but appreciate Charlie for coming on. Hey guys, we've been on for a little over an hour. Appreciate you guys for hanging out again. Give my guy TJ Salamone up at the top of the space a follow. If you're shopping at Garnet and Gold, you should use code SPACES15 to save 15%. And you ought to be using the Garnet and Gold discount TJ25 to save 25% there. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. The Noles get to 7-3. Their Vegas over-under was 6.5, and so they've already overachieved there. We'll be back on Sunday with a short YouTube video at some point. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube. Thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate you guys' support. Appreciate Charlie Ward for jumping on and those that support us. It feels good to be a winner. 7-3 Noles. We'll talk to you guys soon. Go Florida State. If you're here on the YouTube, if you're still watching, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Like the video. It helps tremendously. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We got 38 people in here. Stats say that 80% of people that watch videos are not subscribed. That means something like 25 of you are not subscribed to the video. Hit subscribe if you're watching right now. Make sure you thumbs up the video, leave a comment. We will talk to you guys soon. Go Noles, and go Noles. Thank you guys. Take care.